Hey guys, Furum here, and today I'm going to be testing the Rezvani Beast Alpha in multiplayer in Asphalt 9. Now, this car has actually been requested quite a bit on my channel, and since it was quite good in the C-Class Slipstream season, I decided to make a video about it. I have maxed it out with my one epic import part on top speed, since that is where this car kind of lacks. In this video, I'm going to be showing you my path to Legend League in the C-Class season with this car, because this was the main car I used along with the Dodge Viper GTS, which I also do plan to make a video about not sure if I'm going to do it about in this C-Class season, but I do plan to make a video about it sometime, as in the most recent update, it got a pretty huge buff, and now it is quite a good C-Class car, whereas before it was just sort of average. But this Rezvani, I can say, is still probably more fun to drive. It also got a buff. It is definitely one of the fastest accelerating cars in the game. Unfortunately, this comes at a cost of lower top speed, because that seems to be what Gameloft does a lot. High accelerating cars have low top speed, and cars with higher top speed generally don't accelerate as fast. But overall, I'd say this car is definitely one of the better C-Class cars. Its nitro efficiency, handling, and drifting are all sort of average, so it might feel a little stiff at times, but I think that was helped a little bit when it got buffed in the most recent update as well. Now in this race, we're facing mostly other Rezvanis and Vipers. There's maybe one or two AMG GTSs, but yeah, it's basically this car and the Viper. That's what most people used this season to get to Legend League. Now, this was only a one-lap race. In some races in the season, there were actually 2 laps, but it did seem like 1 lap were a lot more common. So we've come in first here, gone up 43 rating to 1553. In this season, you needed 1650 to reach Legend League, and you will see me doing that in this video. Here we are facing another Rezvani, as well as 3 Dodge Vipers, a Mercedes AMG, and a Maserati Alfieri, which is not something that you saw very often in this season, because that car came out during a Sheeran event, where most people had used their tokens to get the Sheeran, and let's not get into that again. But basically, a lot of people don't have it, so you hardly ever saw it. It seems to be quite a good car though, at least in terms of top speed. There I got knocked down, that AMG pushed me to the side, and this is only a 1-lap race, but thankfully a bunch of people just sort of wreck and get knocked down ahead of me, and somehow I'm miraculously back into second position. One guy is long gone, that is a Viper I believe, and this AMG tries to knock down me again. I have a lot of targeters for some reason, but we managed to maintain a slight lead on those cars right behind us. Now, I wasn't exactly sure if I was going to be able to keep this throughout the rest of the race, even though it's short, because that AMG can go a good 12 miles per hour faster than me. This car goes 194, the AMG goes 212. That's when I'm 4-starred and he's 3-starred, which I believe he was in this race. However, this car does have better drifting and handling, and better nitro efficiency and acceleration. So I was able to keep my distance. Here I take what I believe is the fastest route, go left after the curve, and then go right at the building, and we come in second position. That first place guy was a Viper who somehow managed to not get killed. Now, this next race is again on San Francisco. It seemed to be quite a popular track this season. While it would be nice to see something where we can vote for tracks like we could in Asphalt 8, it is kind of nice to get this variety, because in Asphalt 8 there were those certain tracks which would usually get picked over other ones, like Barcelona or Nevada. So I'm kind of split on whether I want to see that in this game or not. Speaking of Asphalt 8, this Saturday I plan to upload a video about this car in Asphalt 8. I think in Asphalt 8 it's the Rezvani Beast Alpha instead of the Rezvani Beast X like in this game. It looks a little bit different, but honestly the cars feel pretty close in both games. So for a little bit of Asphalt 9 news, the Pagani Huayra BC and Porsche 918 Spyder Encore has started. You can use the 918 Spyder to get 10 blueprints for the Huayra, and you can use the Huayra to get 10 blueprints for the 918. This time they are free tries, so if you don't have either car, you can get 10 blueprints for both of them, which is pretty nice. And apparently for the next big thing, or that's what Gameloft calls it anyway, you're going to need both the 918 and the Huayra. So it might be a good idea to go for them if you have a good amount of tokens, and if you're not too far away from unlocking them, maybe you bought some packs before and didn't get them, well now would be a great time to do it. For example, I spent 3,000 tokens and unlocked the Huayra. Now in that race we didn't have too much competition, but in the next race we certainly do. In this race we're facing another Rezvani Beast Alpha, but our main competition are 2 Pininfarina H2 speeds. Now, if you saw my video a couple days ago, you'll know that that car is actually quite good and was actually the best car in this season. It goes 207 or something miles per hour when you have it at 4 stars. And this car can only go 194. So they're 13 miles per hour faster, and we have a track here which is usually pretty good for high top speed cars. So this should be interesting. Currently we're in front, but that may not stay for long. And just like that, we've been passed, but I was not about to give up. Even though that car definitely does have better top speed, the Rezvani, well, the Rezvani isn't actually better than the Pininfarina in any way, except maybe being slightly better acceleration. So yeah, it may be a bit tough to beat them, but I still was going to try, and we're now back into second. If you're in a car that's a lot slower than the other ones in the race, and the rest of your stats are fairly close to theirs, as in this case, you're going to have to work really hard to beat them and take advantage of a whole lot of speed tricks. Now, this drifting part here is one thing where the Pininfarina does have an advantage, because with that high handling stat above 80, the Pininfarina does not lose as much speed around turns as other cars do. I believe that I've figured out that that is the case. A lot of other people have said that as well. So that is really what upgrading the handling stat does. It does not really change how the car handles and drifts as much, at least, as it does the speed loss around turns and when handling. So we're still in second position here. I'm using all the speed tricks and shockwaving and all that stuff that I know how to do. It's just they're faster by 13 miles per hour, and in long straight sections like this, well, there's not really much you can do about it, and thus that guy is going by. He is also not having such a good internet connection, so even if I had wanted to 360, which I don't do, I wouldn't have been able to catch up to him. And now, because both of them have now passed me, we are back into third, but still not too far behind them. So even if your car is inferior, you can still keep up as long as you know how to, drive well. And while it may not be enough to give you the victory all the time, the more races that you have like this, the better prepared you will be for later races like this, where it really matters a lot. And yeah, overall, it just gives practice, which is why even if you don't win races like this, there's still good ones to get experience in. So now I have a little question for you. While we've been doing some C-Class cars recently, I'd like to ask, what is your favorite C-Class car, just overall, not out of the ones I've done, and why? So we're coming up to the end of this race here. Unfortunately, it was a 2-lap race, which is not great for low top speed cars, and we've come in third. Only went down 2 though, which was rather nice. Now for a race on Scotland. Now in this race, we're facing a whole lot of different cars. This is a full race. We're facing 2 other Rezvanis, 3 Dodge Viper GTSs, 1 BMW M4, and last but not least, 1 Pininfarina H2 speed. Here I do some wall riding to maintain my speed, but then get knocked down. However, not all is lost, because in slipstream seasons, it's actually a lot easier to come back from knockdowns than in maybe another season, because usually if you're at least fairly close to some other people, you can catch their slipstream and shockwave back up to top speed in no time. And even after that knockdown, we're already back into 3 out of 8 position. Now, I cannot really say this car has any innate catch-up ability due to the fact that its speed is lower than the other top C-Class cars. However, if you drive it right, it can in fact catch up. It's not so much slower that you can't, which is one thing I'm kind of glad about, and it's something that you wouldn't really see in something like, say, the Lotus Elise in Class D, which did get a speed buff, but I can't really see it really catching up to any Hemis or GT350s. So there we knocked that one guy down. We take the faster left route here, shockwave up the flower whatever place, I don't know what it's called, and we're now ahead. You can see that that route is definitely faster. It can take a while to get used to, and if you don't do it right, it can slow you down, but I've found that generally the risk is low enough that it pays off, and I usually go that way. And we managed to come back, even after a knockdown, to be first in this race. Now, for the final race here, we have an interesting one on San Francisco. This is a full 8-player race. Everybody is either a Viper or a Dodge, except for 1 Pininfarina. And that Pininfarina is sort of the interesting part of this race. So this car can just fly past everyone at the beginning. That is the great thing about it. I'm going also to be uploading a video about this car, the Rezvani Beast Alpha, I guess it is, in Asphalt 8. So 2 Rezvani videos right in a row, which is something I guess I haven't really done before between the games, same car in both games, I think is is pretty cool. It wasn't actually planned, but hey, it worked out pretty well. And you know what I found? I found that the cars perform rather similarly in both games. At least they feel about the same when driving, as much as you really can with the different physics and all the different driving dynamics. But you can tell that they're both Rezvanis for sure. So now it's time for my general review of this car. It's certainly not the best in Class C, but definitely also in the top half. Possibly the third best, but I'm not exactly sure how it compares against the Viper. Some people did some tests and they were fairly close, but overall I'd say aside from having an only average top speed, this car is pretty well rounded and quite a fun car to drive. And we come in first in this race. And interestingly enough, the Pininfarina actually comes in last. Thank you all for watching. Please like the video if you've enjoyed and consider subscribing for more Asphalt 8 and 9 content. And I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!